At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
It is a new day for 911 professionals. They have gone from the most important person you will never see to the most vital piece of public safety. Truth be told, they always have been. The curtain has been pulled back, and they are sharing their stories. Welcome to Imagine Listening. Your Worst Day is Our Everyday by Ricardo Martinez II, and narrated by myself, Ricardo Martinez II, and distributed by Beacon Audio Books. Copyright 2023. That's right, everyone. Finally, I can let everyone know the rumors are true. Imagine Listening, Your Worst Day is Our Everyday is now available as an audiobook on Audible, and it's a long time coming. Very excited. Not a lot of authors get the opportunity to voice their own book, but I had the honor and privilege to do so. So thank you to Beacon Audio Books, as well as my publisher, Titled Town Publishing, for everything, but especially all of you for making the I Am 911 movement, as well as Imagine Listening, what it is today. I appreciate you all more than you know. So go ahead, head out, stream it, download it, however you consume your audiobooks. Imagine Listening is now available. If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services, and a big shout-out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast, whether you're on Circle, Facebook, or Patreon. Thank you so very much. This has been an excellent week. It is the week of, the 23rd right now, but by the time this comes out, as I said in the other episode, it's probably going to be like June, because I have tons of episodes that are going out, but we have had an excellent week here. Aurora 911 hosted a couple days worth of my 8-hour course that I do for communications, and we are here recording live within Aurora 911, and we have just been having so much fun. And my next guest here with me is Bess. Hello, how's it going?
Great. How about you?
I am doing well. My voice is a little destroyed after a few days of talking. But Bess is management assistant, but also, you were a dispatcher for 13 years, but going on about 20 years, right? With public safety.
And I'm only 24. It's weird.
Wow, how does that happen?
I don't know. It's magic.
That's right. It's magic. It's all those phone calls.
Keep you young.
Yeah, exactly. So how'd you get into public safety to begin with?
I kind of fell into it weirdly. I got my degree from CU Boulder, from marketing and communications, and just wanted to go into advertising, something of that nature, and got into it in a Denver firm and quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. And my boyfriend turned husband at the time was a cop, and so we had friends that were dispatchers in a small town in Golden, or in Colorado, it's called Golden, and decided I want to give it a shot. And I always kind of had a, he'd come home with stories all the time. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I just want to be involved in that and helping people and all the things. And so gave it a shot and stayed. And, just 13 years later and decided to become management and all that. But it's been a crazy journey, and it's something that gets in your blood and just doesn't leave. So it's interesting how people get in it, and then they're just like, and I'm still here. So,
yes. Yeah. A lot. And a lot of times, a lot of people that I've spoken to as well, some people have said, I got into dispatch because I wanted to be an officer. I wanted to be an EMS or fire, whichever. And they told me, go into dispatch first and see what it's like. And the majority of them, it gets, like you said, it gets in their blood and they stay. Yeah. That's what they end up doing. They feel as though it is definitely their calling. Was there a moment for you at all at any time where, whether it be, something that happened within the center or a phone call, something that pretty much solidified that you were in the right spot?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there's definitely times that you talk to somebody that's suicidal and all of the things, the horrible things that we have to hear. But I remember kind of a lighter story one Thanksgiving, and excuse me, we all work Thanksgivings, we all work Christmases, and you do it another day. And I'm sitting there, and Golden was a one-seater, but we had a couple different. We only had 8 to 10 dispatchers on staff total, so we had one a lot. And I remember one Thanksgiving, I was sitting there, and I don't know why, I'm just having the existential thought of, I am the only person in the city of Golden that can get anybody, a fire truck, an ambulance, an officer. Like, if I'm not here, that doesn't happen. That's a crazy thought, and just reeling of that of, wow, that's kind of cool and amazing, that people would call me for that. And had a gentleman call that, was angry that he lived next to a biker bar. And so there was something happening at the biker bar on Thanksgiving, and a bunch of different bikers were there. And he's like, these bikers are just revving their engine, and it's so loud, and they just so obnoxious, and they just can't believe they're doing this on Thanksgiving and all the things. Just wanted to vent. And I'm thinking, you live next to a biker bar. It's my first thought, right?
Yes.
What do you expect, sir?
Exactly.
But this can't be the first time you've heard this noise. But just kind of thinking, it's Thanksgiving. He's probably, he sounds like he's not with anybody. He's probably by himself.
That's true.
You're being kind of compassionate to those people. And I said, yeah, sir, that's got to be frustrating. And, my dad doesn't, like bikers either. And they're just so loud, and all these aftermarket pipes. And I remember one time in Michigan where these aftermarket pipes were just loud, and right in front of the restaurant we were going into, and they're revving up and leaving, and he's yelling after them, those aren't the right pipes, and you're too loud. And like, Daddy can't hear you. It's very loud. And so just kind of told him that story, and he laughed. He's like, I would do that too. They're just obnoxious and you yell at them all the time. So he kind of laughed and was just like, well, thanks for listening to me. I just wanted somebody to vent to. And I'm like, sorry, I can get an officer to sit up there, but it's like, no, they got better things to do. They can't do anything about it. I appreciate you offering. And so kind of hung up, and like 10 minutes later, he calls back and he's like, can I just talk to your sergeant or, internal affairs or whatever you guys call it? He's like, I just really appreciated that you just took the 2 minutes to listen to me and just, hear, I know my complaint wasn't the best, the worst thing happening today, but I just wanted somebody to listen to. And I appreciate you not being mean or jerky about it, just making it lighter and making me laugh. And so, that was a couple of years into me being in dispatch. You sit back and you're like, all right, I can make one difference for that one guy on Thanksgiving because I listened.
Right.
That's it, and I didn't have anything to do with saving his life or delivering a baby. But yeah, I hold on to that. Just being like, that one guy, he'll remember me forever.
Right.
The one day that I was nice to him on Thanksgiving. So
that is awesome. I love that. And that's that human part.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, when I very first started dispatching, there was 3 things that my original trainer told me that you need to be able to be in dispatch, and that is common sense, thick skin, and being human.
Absolutely. Yep. And people, it's easy to forget the human piece, right? Because you deal with, I could have been a jerk to that guy. I'm like, you live next to a biker bar, sir. What do you expect? Things like that. But why? I mean, that would have just made me tense. It would have made him tense, and just unnecessary. So it's really important to remember that human aspect. And I think it's easy to be beaten down by people in times. And so you really have to make it a conscious effort at times, be like, just breathe. I'm still a human. They're still a human. We have to get through this together day by day.
Yes.
Right?
No. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we're a team, man. Like we got to do this all together.
We really
Yeah.
are on the same team.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
Oh, I love that story. What made you want to, I guess, transfer over into management after those 13 years in dispatch?
that's a great question. I always told myself that, I'm a worker bee. I'm great at being a worker bee. I love being a worker bee. I'm the, like Pam said, I'm a jack of all trades, and I'm just the go-to to get things done. I don't know, go ask Bess. And, I love things like that when I can help people. That's my superpower, where I know where things are. I reorganize the storeroom, things like that. I love that just, you can see your product of being, I did that, And so, we were transferring into a regional center. So it was going to be going from 8 dispatchers to 100, and so it was going to be a huge culture shock for all of us. And I kind of said, well, I want to be the one to help people kind of make this transition. I want to make sure that I'm still the friendly face that people know, that can be like, like, what is this really about? And I can really tell them, instead of, we're going to make it work, and just kind of, no, this is going to be hard. We're going to get through it together. This is going to be a huge culture change and shock, but we're going to get through it, And so I kind of went into it with that understanding, and then kind of stayed with it. Management's hard, though. It really is.
Yes.
Dispatching's hard. Management is a whole different set of hard. And so I did that for a while as a manager at Golden, and then we moved to Jeffcom, where I was the training manager for 4 years. Made a transition here to Aurora just to kind of get a fresh start and something change, and use my experience of building that regional center into what it is. And came here as a professional development manager, so training, and then just realized I wanted to be a worker bee. I'm a worker bee at heart, and so made the transition kind of back to an administration role, and I'm a lot less stressed, and I just I can support people in my way.
Right.
So,
Yes.
which is perfect, less stressful for me. So
See,
yeah.
that's awesome too, and I agree when you're talking about management, or excuse me, even going from the front line up to like a supervisor or even a CTO sometimes, but more so supervisor, because I remember when I got that promotion and everything. Now I have to separate the friends from how I'm doing certain things. I wasn't lucky enough to get one of those cakes that says you're dead to us now, but
Darn it.
I know it wasn't really a thing or anything. It was more so when like social media was really coming, that people would post that. I always find those hilarious. There's a couple people that I've spoken to that are like, that's kind of mean. They're like, I mean, I get what you're saying, that it can be kind of mean, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, it is funny because you're not really dead to them, but it's just like, you chose the other side. You're on the other side or whatever. And so like for me, I had to be like, we're still cool, but it's a little different now. Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast, right? I mean, that could go on
right.
forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we switch over here to Pam and everything, I have one last question for you. Well, actually, a couple of questions, but this one I want to say first. So because you've been in public safety for 20 years, but let's just look at, let's look at the whole thing as a whole. If you could go back in time with the knowledge that you have now to talk to yourself at the beginning of your career, what would you tell yourself? Not so much to change anything, but just like some advice.
Yeah. I think, one of the sayings around public safety is there's 2 things that cops, dispatchers, firefighters, everybody, 2 things we hate most: change and no change, right? And it's always the age-old story of, wow, this CAD doesn't work, we need a new CAD. But why are we getting a new CAD? This one works just fine, And so,
right.
I think going back in time, I think I would just tell myself, just hold on, things happen for a reason, and the technology is going to change drastically over 20 years, and you have to be adaptable. You just have to be, and otherwise you're going to sit in, this mindset of everything's happening to me and why me and all the things. And you can't do that in dispatch, because every day is changing. Everything's changing all the time. And if you want to be in it, you want to help people and do the things, that's part of it. And you have to just be okay with that and adapt. And most dispatchers do. I think some dig their heels in, and that it's not for them anymore.
Right.
It's fine. Go do your things elsewhere. But, I think I didn't know how much, and I think that's part of the problem, that you don't know exactly what you're getting into until you're in it,
Right.
and then you're like, oh,
Right.
got it.
That's what this
Yeah.
is.
And then it changes next year, right?
Yes.
So it's always changing, it's always adapting. And I think if you like that and you hold on to, that's okay, and sometimes you're going to hate it. That's okay. Sometimes it's going to be great. Sometimes you're going to hate it at first and you're going to love it after. That's okay. And so I think just that mindset is going to carry you through anything. So I wish I would have been a little more like that, because I think there were times that even in training's hard. And one of the hardest things I've gone through in my life, and I've had a baby, I mean, that was hard, and so that someone over your shoulder like that is really hard, but again, they're trying to make you better. Like, it's always
Right.
going to make you better. And always, instead of fighting that, just listen, take it in, and be adaptable to their way. And then you can get out and figure out your own way, and so, yeah, I wish I would have been a little more adaptable in my youth.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good segue, as you're talking about, basically adapt and evolve.
Yeah.
And we go over to the reason or the thought behind or an inspiration for having a chaplain, to bring in a chaplain as well. And then we'll come over to Pam here,
Absolutely.
as she gives some of her history as well.
Yeah. So this actually came about while working at Golden, which is when the Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains basically started. And that was 15 years ago. Yeah. So they came in, and it was a couple, Golden churches that brought in their pastors, and they said, hey, we just want to help. We know that this is a tough job. We want to help. I mean, purely volunteer. How you guys do this volunteer, I have no idea, because I would not be able to do that. So they just came in and wanted to help. And I think public safety can get so jaded to people that you're instantly like, what? That's weird. Why would you do that? That's foreign to us. And so they had a rough go, honestly, the first couple of years they were there, and people were not nice to them, and they thought that they were going to come in and, try to change their religion or force religion down their throat, and, tell all the secrets to the chief or whatever it was. And so they had a rough time. And slowly but surely, just a couple officers, they'd come do ride-alongs, and they often said that they'd come and they'd sit in silence for 10 hours because the officers wouldn't talk to them. And why they stayed around, I really don't know, because that had to be difficult. But they're such good people, and they've brought on so many more chaplains. They have chaplains all around the country now, and do all these trainings, and it's just an amazing program. And so I actually had my own personal experience with the head of that, Kevin Shive, who's the leader of the Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains, and he helped me through a really hard personal time in my life. And so just kind of knowing that, and just knowing my experience with it, that, when I went to JeffCom as a training manager, we knew kind of evolving, day one is new hire orientation. Day two is stress management and meet the chaplain. Instead of going through CAD and everything like that, we knew that this is what you needed day two. You need to know that these people are around when you're going through this hard time in your life. Excuse me. So same thing coming here, we had a peer support team, but it was under the police department. And then when Tina, our director, came in, she moved us kind of out into our own organization. We're no longer under the police department. And so that included involving the peer support team to what we have as dispatchers now, and not officers and things like that, which we can all have our own, kind of peer support group, but we needed our own, like our people.
Right.
So again, I knew, going into, okay, we had a clinician with Jamie Brower and psychological, and then we had a bunch of peer support members, and then we needed to include a chaplain in that. So we brought Kevin Shive and some people down, and we had Gretchen at JeffCom, and so they went out kind of looking for people to be like, hey, do you want to come be a chaplain here at Aurora? And I don't know how you came to be. You can tell that your story there, but we got Pam. And
awesome.
So Pam came in one day, and that was a year and a half-ish ago, and man, it's just amazing how you don't know what you're missing until you have it. And then you're like, oh yeah, Pam's always been here. We need Pam, so it's just amazing what she brings. And it's not just about religion. And I think that's what chaplain, automatically people think religion. And, it's about wellness overall. It's about peer support and wellness, and having someone there that you can just talk to about whatever you're going through. And so, we brought Pam in, and she's, amazing, and has brought so much just support, and that's all we really need. And so, yeah, she's here, and we're going to try to, hopefully spread the word to people that you need, whether you call it a wellness coordinator, whether you call it, chaplain, whatever you call it, the role is spiritual wellness. It's, whole person wellness, and not just, we'll give you a day off. Like, great. But also, here's some people you can talk to that aren't EAP, that aren't, your random clinician that call and be like, I don't do what you do, and I have no idea what you do.
Right.
It's not
Yes.
helpful.
Yeah.
So
no, exactly.
Pam's in it. She sits along. She comes in. She's in the high priority incidents. She's, on call with the rest of us. So she understands, and a lot more people trust her to talk about, the stuff that's going on in their heads. So,
Nice. Well,
so Pam.
yes. Enter Pam. Making a quick transition here, bringing Pam in. All right, welcome.
Thank you.
So, how did you get involved to begin with, doing, being a chaplain, but also, working in public safety and everything?
Mhm.
Let's hear a little bit of your background.
Yes. So my husband actually works for Aurora Fire Department. He's
Mhm.
been there about 16 years. So I have been the spouse of a first responder. We are celebrating 24 years this year, but he's been on 16 years. So I'm very familiar with the stresses that first responders encounter
Mhm.
and the effects on the family. We have 2 boys at home. And so we know what it means when you're trying for a promotion and the whole study and testing. We know what it means when you have a bad call. We know what it means when you're dealing with the stresses of administration, support, lack thereof. We just have an idea. And then just the city of Aurora, how it's unique in its needs. And so that kind of experience, I didn't know it was equipping me for this job at the time, but it has. And personally, my passion is just what we call in my faith world, what we call discipleship. And that's anything from wherever you are in your journey as far as spirituality. I love to come alongside people and just be a support, be a listening ear, provide a listening ear, and also resources or whatever is needed. My personal faith journey is one of what I would say I had a faith crisis as far as just the existential. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I believe and why?
Mhm.
And so I went through a season early on in my marriage to be able to figure that out for myself. And I thought, I can't be the only one who's asking these questions and digging and just trying to figure out, some big questions in life. So, excuse me, I feel like that my own personal crises has really equipped me to be able to serve in this capacity. So I was serving with a company called Eye Care Team
Mhm.
and doing that simultaneously with another job. And the company that had hired me, it was Workplace Chaplains. Eye Care Team is Workplace Chaplains. The company that had hired me sold to another company, and they said, we no longer need the chaplain. So Eye Care Team supervisors said, I know about this organization, Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains, and they're actually looking for chaplains. So maybe you reach out to them. So I did, reached out to Kevin Shive at Rocky Mountain. And he said, well, your husband's a first responder in Aurora. We should get you into Aurora. And I said, okay. And so, God and his administrative gifts brought me into Aurora when Aurora was looking. And so Aurora Dispatch as well as Aurora Police have that need filled, and I have the desire to serve. And so I've been volunteering with Dispatch since November of 2022 and APD since February of 2023.
Wow. He works in mysterious ways, right? As they say.
Mhm,
And
exactly,
it just happened to be that,
that.
that it worked that way. And now you're
Mhm,
here. So then
mhm.
for both organizations, when you come in, for those who are watching and listening who don't know how, having a chaplain in the center works, how does it work? You
Yeah.
come in, like, what exactly is it that you do?
Yeah. So it looks different for each. I'll focus on dispatch, obviously. When people ask me, well, what is a chaplain? What do you do? I don't understand. The first word I give is support.
Mhm.
And I understand that looks different for everyone.
Right.
And not everyone is interested or has any desire to have anything to do with spirituality. So I make it clear that whatever support looks like for you, sometimes it's getting a bottle of water while they're in the middle of a hard call. Sometimes it's talking through stuff at home. It looks different every day that I walk in those doors. So I come in, I do my rounds, I check in with people, whoever's not on a call and can actually chit chat with me. How are you? How's your family? how's grandma, whatever, these things take time. It really takes time to get to know people. And like Bess said, to build that trust, because at first it was like, who are you?
Right.
Why are you here?
Do you come from where we come from?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to
I don't
understand?
understand.
Yeah.
And so those moments where we can connect between calls or when they're on breaks or whatever, I let them know my background and my desire. And eventually that trust has been built. It took maybe 9 to 12 months. And now people are reaching out saying, hey, I just have something I want to talk about. I'm encountering this for the first time. I also let them know that I'm here to support their families. So again, as the spouse of a first responder, I know the stresses that the first responder's life has on the family. And so I let them know, hey, if someone in your family circle is needing support, whether it's dealing with you or something else, maybe there was a death in the family, how can I support your family? So my support extends beyond the actual dispatcher into their family. But back to that support piece, I understand it looks different for everyone. And so I'm just here to support each person in any way. Sometimes it is prayer. Oftentimes I will, we have a quiet room. And so we can go sit in that quiet room and they can just kind of debrief what it is they're feeling. It might be a call or it might be something at home, talk it through. I just kind of ask them the best way that I can support them. Are we looking for solutions? Are we looking just for a listening ear? Do we want to pray? Where are you at? And then I just kind of follow up. How is this going? How can I support you? And sometimes it's resources. Sometimes it's a listening ear. Sometimes it's a bottle of water or donuts and coffee. It looks different for every person for every day. And that's my heart. I want to support you because I have such respect for the people that choose this profession, show up every single day. And I thought, I can't do what you do, but I can support you as I do it. And so that's why I do what I do.
Dang.
Mic drop.
Yes. Literally mic drop. Wow. That is amazing. I wish when I was in dispatch, we would have had someone like you there, because I remember one incident specifically, and Bess, you kind of touched on it a little bit with kind of like the, EAP and such. And we did have someone come in, which I'm sure he was a great counselor. However, he didn't come from where we come from. And so there was a group of us in there, and we're kind of looking at each other, and I was the one, I guess, designated to be the speaker. So I'm telling, what happened. And the first thing he says is, well, how does it make you feel? And then we're just kind of sitting there like, I don't think you can help us, because I don't know. It immediately didn't feel right. But he also said too, you're right. I don't come from where you come from. So you guys should try to find someone, because that might help more. And then, we parted ways. And we did have someone come in a couple days later who was from the agency north of us. And he was from dispatch, and he did pretty much the exact same thing you did. We were all working like a well-oiled machine on whatever crazy call we had going at the time. And he just kind of walked around, observed. And when we had a moment, he just kind of checked in the way you did. And that alone, and the fact that we knew that he came, from the chair as well, or at least in public safety in general, that just helped so much. And then it just kind of continued on. Is there anything that we can get you, just like you're saying? And I think that's awesome. So for those who are watching and listening that might be interested in looking into hiring or bringing on a chaplain, what are some things that you think they should look for?
That is a great question. What should they look for? Well, I think some sort of support or training organization. So here in Colorado, we have the Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplain Organization, which helps to train and equip chaplains, but they can also recruit. I mean, that's how I was brought on to dispatch. Was they said, hey, this place is looking for a chaplain and you're looking, so they brought us together. So someone who is already established in the first responder chaplain world and able to kind of vet people. It's not a pastor role. A pastor has what we call a flock in the church, and that role, there are some similarities, but it is not the same. And so we're not necessarily looking, oh, you're a pastor, you can be a chaplain. Not necessarily. And Rocky Mountain Police and Fire Chaplains helps to distinguish the difference and train and equip people. So if you don't have that type of organization, that would be the first place to start, is seek it out. And if you don't have a local, then referencing, reaching out to Rocky Mountain and seeing who in my area is doing this. If no one, can you help us? That would be the first place. And then I would say even looking amongst your own people, whether it be dispatch, police, fire, whatever sort, to find a first responder who has a heart to do that and can do that. It might be someone who's retired. It might be someone who says, I want to transition out of this, but not just maybe shift my role.
Right.
Because that is the person who knows. The person who knows the long hours, the overtime, the stresses, the expectations of the public, they get it. And so you don't have to train on culture or anything like that. Like you said, someone says, how does that make you feel? And you just, really?
Right.
How do you think that makes me feel?
Just drop,
Yeah.
almost.
So those two things, who's already doing that in locally that you can tap into, because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel, and then start looking amongst your own people, putting that out there and having a that secondary organization to help vet that person, train that person. That way, you're getting the right person, because as we know in this industry, trust is huge. And once it's broken, it's broken.
Right.
And so you need the right person in that position to be able to build that trust and keep it. Otherwise, there's no point to bring someone on there. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. And I'm slightly jealous because we didn't have this when I was in dispatch. And I just love the, basically the evolution of the profession, and how there's so many more resources, and bringing folks in like yourself, and to be there along the way and everything is just, it's refreshing. That's basically what I'm getting at. It's refreshing.
And
it's
I
awesome.
really want to give kudos to this dispatch center and their director, because newer and newer research is coming out showing the spirituality is such an important role in our well-being. There's a method out there, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, so I'm not taking credit for this, but the SPIRE method of wellness, S standing for spiritual. And so I think the next is relational, intellectual, SP. I'm butchering it, and I apologize, but it's a wellness concept.
Yeah.
Spirituality is a piece of that, exercise, all of those things. And so, this is the latest research showing the need for holistic care for our people in general, but especially first responders, because of all the stressors they encounter. And so this dispatch center is actually, quote unquote, cutting edge technology when it comes to holistic wellness. And so they're kind of paving the way for really trying to equip their people with the best possible solutions. I mean, everything from brand new chairs and workspaces to a chaplain. She's really making sure they're covering all the bases, which is incredible.
Man, that is awesome. Well, thank you to the both of you for being on. I really appreciate this and learning more about the both of you, how you run things, how you do what you do as well. So thank you both. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments or questions, or you ever want to be a guest on the show, you can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media. You can simply go to links.co/WTT podcast, and that's links with 2 i's.co/WTT podcast. And this episode has been sponsored by Ian Digital, a leader next gen core services, and a shout out again to all the subscribers. Thank you so very much. And you can see this on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live. Then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one.
You just listened to a Code 7 Network podcast. If you have any questions or would like to be a guest on the show, send an email to wttpodcast@gmail.com.